Anais here today to talk a little bit about how it is to be a survivor of trauma and sexual abuse. And she will talk to you. I will ask the questions, but she will talk to you out there about how Rosen method bodywork can help issues that's kind of stored in the body from trauma. So, Anais, you are a teacher in Rosen method bodywork and a practitioner, and you have gained a lot of knowledge about trauma and Rosen method bodywork during the years.
Yes. So, most of my trauma wasn't sexual abuse. It was about war.
Yes, your own trauma history. Yes, you actually had a trauma history yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sexual abuse is just a minor thing in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that most of my clients, most of them, come with an abuse history, sexual abuse history.
Okay, you never planned to work with people who had been sexually abused, but it just happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's very
And
common.
Yes, I know it is. In Denmark, we also have this large group and a waiting list for them to get help. Yes. And this is kind of what we want to investigate a little bit further today, because by your work with this touch therapy, I would like that Rosen method bodywork is. I would like to ask, how do you experience people with sexual abuse history can profit from that?
Can profit from it. I think there's a huge range of how traumatic this history has been for people. So I've worked with clients who've had years of abuse and neglect.
Yes.
Clients who have survived and are functioning well in their lives now, but suffering inside. And those are the kind of clients Rosen is actually helpful for, not the kind of people whose lives are still complete chaos.
Yes.
Yeah.
And why is it so?
One response to trauma is to get too rigid and too controlled and too tight and too
in your body.
Tight. Rosen method is an approach that intends to allow you to be safe enough to relax and open and have things emerge that you can process. That should only happen when your life can contain that. When you have enough support around you, when your life is stable, you're not homeless on the street.
You're not abuser, you're addicted to something, to alcohol, to really bad patterns, really bad relationships. Yes, so you need some support.
When you do Rosen, you should have taken care of those things that you just named if they were in your life.
Yes, you experience that the Rosen method touch, the special touch that we can do in Rosen method bodywork, it works better.
Yes, it works better to help really integrate people. I learned this really from my clients. Because in Rosen, what we do is put our hands on people in a way that's very gentle, and we call it a listening touch. It's not a manipulative touch. We're not doing something to people, which is why it's also very good for sexual abuse survivors. It's more about really meeting them and listening to them. So it's a safer touch in that way than actually any other kind of body work I know of. In that we're not manipulating. Okay. But I've had clients who have survived by being so separated from themselves and so numb that they my initial touch, I ask them, can you feel my hands? And they say no. Mm-hmm. They're literally numb. Mm. So then we work with how do you wake up the body so that it can actually feel that there's contact and feel that there's support, you know. So that's a process.
Yes, so it's like you have to do, I guess, baby steps.
Baby steps, yes.
Not like, maybe it's okay if you don't want to touch at your bare skin.
Of course.
Yes, so that would be a possibility.
Yeah. Traditionally, Rosen, you're taking clothes off and have a sheet over you. Mm. But, you know, that could be too much for a lot of people. Mm. So keep that sheet on, keep your clothes on.
Yes.
Until you actually experience safety. Safety is key. So that you can experiment with where to touch, how to touch. Mm. The client leads the practitioner in when it's okay and where it's okay, and then sometimes they find out it's not okay. So then you back off. Mm. So they're actually empowered to receive touch that is safe. And that in itself addresses the effects of trauma.
Yes, because it can be very hard to receive a gentle and not wanting to do something with the body touch when you have been used to the opposite and had very bad experiences with that. Your whole body is just not trusting anybody.
Right. And sometimes I've had clients who need to experience that over and over again before they really believe that they're safe, this is something they're in charge of, and that they can relax into it.
So how could, I guess there are many different types of sessions that you have, because people who has been sexually abused is as different as everybody else in this world, I think. Yeah. But have you experienced some maybe common things as well, or that it's actually possible? Is it possible to recover from scars that deep?
Yes, I think the human body knows how to heal itself. And what we're doing is creating the right kind of conditions that allow that to happen. And when I say heal, what I actually mean is something in the nervous system. What we experience as trauma survivors is fragmentation, right? Dissociation from parts of ourselves. And healing means actual reconnecting of neural nets. Parts of the brain come back online and connect to each other that were severed during the trauma. The body knows how to do that, but it needs the right conditions. And the conditions, this is what I love about Rosen.
Okay, good.
The conditions are that you're in a place where your nervous system can relax, and that you can take in another person's presence and love. And I'm serious about using that word, because what it does is help the neural hormones that are attached with bonding and love, the oxytocin, feel-good hormones, they actually help neural nets regrow, neural connections reform.
Yes, kind of physically.
Physically, it's a physiological thing.
Yes, even though, you don't try to fix or do something physical to the body. The body just does it.
The body does it because you're present in a state that actually helps regulate the state of the client.
Yes, yes. So what we learn as a Rosen therapist very much is also to regulate ourselves and respect the boundaries, to establish a good connection. And
you know what else I want to say?
No?
A lot of survivors feel hopeless about getting over it. Because one of the survivor patterns we have is to try to do it by ourselves. And to think we should have by now, you know, right?
Yes. You're used to doing
because
things like that yourself.
The whole reason you have trauma is because somebody didn't take care of you. So now you've had to take care of yourself, take care of yourself. But it's not possible to heal that kind of internal disconnect without the attention of another person.
Yes, and what I think as a trauma survivor as well, that you kind of continue what you actually learn from your parents, not taking care of yourself.
Exactly.
You do that to yourself again and again and again.
So,
yes, until you break that pattern. Yeah.
And that's what I say. Healing from trauma isn't necessarily telling the story and certainly not reliving it. It's stopping doing what you've done to yourself.
Yes.
To separate from yourself.
Yes.
Okay? And it's simple things like stopping holding your breath. Stopping criticizing yourself all the time. Stopping not taking in that another person is there with you. You know, whatever the survival patterns are, the practitioner brings you to a place that's safe enough for you to let go of it. And then what happens? Everything you've held back, that you thought if you let yourself feel, you're just going to die.
Exactly.
That shows up. And the practitioner helps you stay with it until you get to actually feel it. Might take 5 or 10 minutes.
When it's worse.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then it subsides and you feel a weight has been lifted. Right? Now, here's the thing about how trauma survivors are different from each other, depending on their history. Sometimes you do that 1 or 2 times, and then a shift happens and it shows up in their life. And sometimes that actually happened for a part of them. And the next week, they'll come back and talk to you as if that never happened.
Because it's another part.
Another part.
It's
right.
separate.
What happened to another part.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why my image of trauma healing isn't from this point to this point in a straight line. It's more like a spiral. And sometimes you feel like you're going backwards, but you're going backwards at a higher level.
Exactly.
You know,
with a little more consciousness of what's happening. Where you didn't have any consciousness. Typically, when these situations were going on, you were just kind of paralyzed or so scared that you had to stiffen your body totally.
And the other thing I do with survivors is honor the survival pattern. Even though we're trying to let go, we have to
because
understand what its function is and give you what you need in order to let go.
Also acknowledge that it is an important tool, an important piece of this person that has helped this person again and again and again. And it's a safe ground until you get another safe ground that's better.
I have clients who have names. I mean, I'm not talking about people who have multiple personality disorder or anything like that. I'm talking about normal, all of us. We all we can identify with having a little girl part, or a warrior part, or, you know.
Yes, we do have
Yeah.
everybody. That's
Right.
normal. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, and usually what happens is one part is trying to get rid of another part.
Yes. It's like there's a devil and
Yeah.
there's a good one.
Right,
you know?
right.
Yes, who's going to win?
Our goal is integration. Then what we do in Rosen is allow each part to show up, and they get to meet each other,
Yes.
and they get to both be in the room at the same time without a war going on. And being with that in connection with the practitioner, that's when the body can do its thing. And we don't even know how to make it happen. It happens.
But while we're talking here, maybe it's a little bit difficult if you never tried Rosen method bodywork before, because it's a very, very safe environment, but you also go with the body, and when you work with the body like that, it's different than when you come to a psychologist and talk logically about your issues. You kind of step into another area of, you can't predict what's going to happen. Do you experience that can be a little bit overwhelming? Because that's one of the things that's happening when you experience trauma, that even though we make a safe environment when we do Rosen method bodywork, we don't follow a certain plan. We just stay present with the person.
So sometimes I have to reassure people that I completely trust their body and mine, and I trust the process. Because there's wisdom that's more than our conscious minds know.
Yes.
And we are accessing it. So yes, we don't know from this moment to the next moment what we're going to do, what's going to show up. But it's very safe to land in this moment together, and then wait to see what the body gives us.
Yes.
Now, I'm there as someone whose nervous system is capable of regulating the nervous system of the client, so that if something shows up that starts to get overwhelming, I can stop them from getting overwhelmed.
Yes, exactly, because we don't want to go there again. You know, that's that's part of the definition of trauma, that you're getting overwhelmed and you don't have the ability to cope with that.
And overwhelmed, and that's my definition of trauma, by the way, is any experience that you've had that overwhelmed you when it happened, and you didn't get help to process it, so that it became PTSD. You know, so trauma isn't just sexual abuse and hurricanes and car crashes. And, you know,
exactly.
It can be little experiences that could not be processed when they happened, and therefore some kind of separation inside yourself happened. You lost some part of yourself, and it could be a little thing like the teacher yelled at you when you were in third grade.
You were embarrassed. Everybody was watching.
And because you made a purple horse with polka dots. And you'll never do art again.
Yeah. Or you fell off the trampoline, I thought. I think that could also, you know, the body is kind of responding. Something very dangerous is happening. Nobody did this on purpose to you. Actually, you did it yourself, maybe. But and also, if you are at the hospital, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So many very benign things are actually things that cause a separation in a child.
Yes.
Because they're not addressed.
And I think that the body reacts in the same way. I mean, of course, it's a whole other story if your parents are not taking proper care of you.
Yeah.
But the body kind of reacts the same way. It's dangerous. I have to protect myself.
Yeah.
I have to, cut off a piece of connection to the world and to who I am. And we are not really that aware of it in our daily lives, I think. It's just,
it feels like it's normal.
Yes, exactly. Guidelines. So when the topic is touch and sexual abuse, then how can this person feel safe that no boundaries are crossed? I mean, we cannot touch the inside of the thighs.
Abuse survivors, I always ask,
yes,
where and when and how, and
exactly.
is it okay, and do you want it on top of the blanket or under the blanket, or, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And you never know. Some people touching their forehead is really dangerous, and you know.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
You don't
exactly.
know.
Or feet.
Or feet,
People
right.
have a good life after being traumatized or sexually abused. I mean, it's so often in the media, and I think in many people's opinion, you're kind of damaged. You're not You're not. I mean, it's
Well, here's
can
two
be so big.
answers.
Yes.
Two answers to that. One
Yes.
is that your brain and nervous system they call it neuroplasticity.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, they change throughout your lifetime. So it's never over. Even when trauma was developmental, your nervous system is capable of regrowing parts of the brain that shrunk because of the trauma. Regrowing the dendrites and the axons that need to. It can always do that for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So
Okay?
yes.
There's that.
Yeah.
Now, what was the second thought I had? Hopelessness is actually part of the memory. We think it's about now and about the future, but it's actually what you were feeling then.
Okay.
So I treat it like any other feeling.
Yes.
I go, I'll be with you while you feel it. I don't try to talk people out of being hopeless. I say, of course you feel hopeless. It was hopeless.
Yes, at that time.
At that
it was
time,
hopeless.
yes.
Yeah.
And I know when the light goes on and my clients, oh, this is about then.
Yes. Yeah, it must be kind of realization. Yes.
Right, and that's not where I am now.
Yeah, so it's always kind of connected. This
Right.
feeling of hopelessness is actually an old feeling kind of way.
Right,
Yes.
but it's a feeling that hasn't been allowed. And it's going to keep going on until it's allowed with some kind of loving connection present.
Nice talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm sure we could talk for hours.
We could. And some very nice answers. Yes.
All right.
Thank you.